Welcome to the Business Podcast, where we interview professionals across all industries. Hey, it's Simon. Welcome back to the show. Today we have Sachin Narode, CEO of Zenyapp, and Rachel Obenshain, COO of Zenyapp. I'm so excited to have both of them here with us today. Welcome both. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Thank you, Ayman. We're doing great. Thank you for having us on your podcast.
Absolutely. Perhaps we could start the first question with you, Sachin, and that is, can you share a little bit about yourself personally or professionally in such a way that most people would not necessarily be easily able to find out if they looked you up online? What's something you can share that most people don't know?
Uh, they wouldn't actually. I started my career in a whole different domain and transitioned into more of a complex technologies. So I dabble with from vaccine development, from healthcare product to the deep data science tech in travel, and also on more on a blockchain world. So what world I think sees people as a subject matter expert in area A, but the switch is possible if you have a consistent um, knack to solve the problems. Uh, I don't know if they can find that online, but I would say it's a quite a journey to be a vaccine development scientist and be a CEO of a travel technology company.
Absolutely. That's very unique. And I'm sure there are very interesting overlaps
Absolutely.
for one who endeavors into that kind of venture. So perhaps you could share that a little bit later. But before we jump into that, perhaps you can share the answer to the same question, Rachel, and that is, what's something you could share that most people couldn't easily find out about you?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. It's a little bit similar to Sachin. I mean, if you looked at my LinkedIn or my bio, I've spent my whole career in finance and investing prior to this, so private equity and public equity. And a lot of those were with some very large and well-known institutions, like Citadel or Alliance Bernstein. So what you might not immediately notice is that actually I've been a serial entrepreneur within that context. So I was a founding partner of a fund called Lodge Hill Capital, and we started out tiny $10 million in assets, and the firm grew to $1 billion in assets. And then I left and co-founded another fund called Margate Capital. And then I decided to join Sachin to build this company because I thought the vision he had was so compelling. So I've actually been a serial entrepreneur, just in different ways.
Fantastic. And perhaps both of you can pepper in your version of the story of the genesis of Zenyapp and where it is today.
Sure. I mean, I'll take that first just because I kind of got to watch it and then join it. And it's been a fascinating journey. Sachin started out with this vision that there wasn't a real marketplace in the travel industry where travel professionals could go and find every kind of travel in one place that they could book at, net rates, meaning wholesale prices, so that they could actually earn a commission on it. So sort of the Amazon of travel. That was his initial vision. And then he launched it and got a lot of interest in a lot of clients. But what they said to him was, this is great, but we really need a platform to run our entire business on, and one doesn't exist. And he looked around and he saw what Shopify had done for independent retailers, that they had, found a way to help small guys compete with Amazon or Walmart. And he realized that there was this window to do that in the travel industry. And create a Shopify for travel. And that's what we've been building.
Phenomenal. And perhaps you could add some more color to that, Sachin.
Yeah, well, what Rachel said, I definitely echo to that. It's absolutely. So the way I saw the problem was a two-pronged problem. It was from the barrier of entry side, where Expedia and bookings of the world basically doesn't allow travel economy to be a common marketplace. And then all these people who are on other side of the travel managers or customers who are trying to book travel are basically exploited in one way or the other in terms of how the product is being served and it's being moved. So I saw there was a great opportunity. Don't want to go in too much of technical part of it, but it's exactly the marketplace Shopify of travel reference is a pretty strong, significant similarities in our product and our vision where we started and where we are now at. So
Yeah, and this is a question for both of you as well. So thank you for sharing that. What would you say is a major lesson that has been learned as a result of the pandemic as it relates to Zenyapp?
Rachel, do you want to take that, or I could?
I mean, I think it's for us, it was sort of taking the opportunity where there was this halt in the whole industry. I mean, people were just literally not traveling, and using it as a way to actually pivot our business model and our platform to something that was better. So while there was sort of a resources available and people could pay attention to us that may have been too busy at another time, we were able to really use it for something valuable by building out this different business model.
So what I would say I'm on to that is every year the travel trend comes and go. People are building the itineraries and all that stuff. But what pandemic has done significantly different than what it was pre-pandemic. In fact, our entire vision for the company was very different. COVID-19 shaked up the entire travel industry, and I personally feel it's been for better. A lot of bad business models being rooted out. A lot of disruption is coming up. This industry has been primed for the disruption for quite a long period of time. We took that time, we rebuilt the product and refitted it in such a way that we will create an equitable travel distribution. So it is more of a democratizing the travel industry so that all the people could participate in the industry and also benefited from it. I think the previous big interruption in travel might have been World War II or World War One or Second World War, maybe.
Well, no, it was the OTAs, but we allow actual travel professionals to really compete with the OTAs. Now they can offer their customers a professionalized experience with the kind of customer service that people have come to expect in this era.
Yeah, no, the way I was pointing was more of halt in the entire travel industry. You could have in World War II.
Totally. Yep.
Yeah. So this is a big break for the industry to learn its lesson from having that break, because constantly chasing customer doesn't serve the customers. It's just displacement of a marketplace. What is going to happen from now onwards is going to be more of a fintech disruption in travel. It's going to be more safety standards while traveling. People will be far more conscious on the healthcare guidelines. Everything is going to look a bit different, and the trend will continue to look different in future.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that insight very much. What would you characterize as an inflection point in your career personally? And let's hand this question over to Rachel for a moment. Just reflecting on your career, which you mentioned was deeply rooted in finance, and it would be interesting to note what you would categorize, or what first comes to mind when I ask that, as a moment where you realize, you know what, this is a game changer for me.
Yeah, I mean, it was the pandemic. What happened over the last many years in the hedge fund industry anyway is that it's gotten sort of taken over by these multi-manager platforms. So it's a very different business than when I started, when it was individual companies that were growing and building, where you felt like you were building something along with a team, which is something that's really valuable to me, to create a lasting, sustainable business. And that stopped really being possible in the world today. And then the sort of macroeconomic sensitivity, between the pandemic and the stimulus packages, and at the time, sort of the wild swings in trade policy in the previous administration made it very, very difficult to to focus on an individual business and what they were doing, that you could, actually analyze. And I realized I really wanted to build something sustainable and create, real change. And so when Sachin came to me with this idea, I knew right away that this was it. And this was how I could help create something sustainable. And so that was kind of the change. In the middle of the pandemic, I realized that I could really do something totally different.
Fantastic. And just a quick aside, how did you and Sachin both meet? I'm curious about that story. Working in the hedge fund industry, working in tech, I'm sure it's an interesting one.
He is a very close friend of my husband's.
Phenomenal, phenomenal. And Sachin, same question for you. What was an inflection point throughout your career?
Well, I would definitely answer on the same trajectory. So major thing I have seen in travel, and in fact in my own career, was shifting the trajectory from either one situation to the next, but I do call them as an opportunity. And I always been catalyst or either seeing that opportunity and bringing them to life. I have seen myself making those big changes, bringing that disruption, so thinking things differently, even if there is a stress, uncertainty, and times of exhaustion. So when I went to Rachel, I was kind of solving a piece of problem, and I knew there is something in it, and I just wanted a validation from someone who is smart enough to know what disruption we're bringing to this industry. And Rachel, I said, she just took on it. She liked it, and she's like, "This is it." Yeah.
That's great. So I generally ask a question about what's exciting you these days, but I might want to pivot that and say, what could happen with Zenyapp that would absolutely amaze you over this time period between now and the end of the calendar year?
I would take that. So,
Okay.
and then you can, Rachel, definitely.
Mhm.
So the way I think what would happen to Zenyapp, I feel like we are right now in a moment of Zenyapp. What is happening is way too exciting. What's going to happen the moment we give the product in people's hand, and it's doing what it is supposed to do? That's going to completely change the travel industry for good, for good. And I don't want to look at the things in terms of money or money wise. I think we will see that real change in the industry as soon as our product is out there. Rachel,
That's amazing. Yeah, and Rachel?
I would agree. It's similar. The reaction that we get when we show it to people in the industry is cheers or applause. People are really excited. There's real demand for this. So, I think what would happen that will amaze me is, we're working to roll this out broadly, and we'd like to get it done this year. And that's what I'd like to see happen. I think for us, we'd like to also revolutionize, payments in travel. I mean, I think payments are probably one of the biggest bottlenecks in the travel industry. And by having buyers and sellers united on our platform, we see an opportunity to address payments. And so if we can get that ball rolling over the next 6 months, that would be what would amaze me.
Okay, payments. Very nice. A little bit of a switching of gears here, and that is, what's some of the best advice you've received, Rachel, throughout your tenure working at Zenyapp, either working with colleagues or working within your network and sharing what Zenyapp is doing? What's some of the best advice or insight you've gathered?
Just since I've been at Xeniapp, this is such a dumb response. I'll just tell you, it's get a good lawyer. The value of legal counsel is unbelievably high. So that's it.
Get a good lawyer. I love that answer. Yeah.
Get a good corporate attorney. Yeah.
That's a great answer.
So Ayman, that's one thing is very certain that, and if I have gotten advice to myself from peers, colleagues, and in fact Rachel and other team members, the one thing is um, always a competing factor for us is what we are prioritizing, what we are reprioritizing, how we are shaking and moving things forward. Um, what I learned from this journey was more of no matter what, no matter what, just deliver the product. If you do deliver your product, people would live with it. They'll tell you what is wrong with it, take that feedback and fix it and go back to them.
Mhm.
If you have a customers, you have a blessing in any startup. Customers is the blessing. They're gonna tell you what they want instead of you build and ask them to buy it. So we are very much built with the insight from all of our channel partners, customers, and also the team who is working on. So being fortunate enough to have those insights.
And in terms of a habit that contributes to your success, Sachin, toward being in your zone and getting things done, what would you say that is?
Sorry, come again with the question.
Yeah, what would you say is a daily habit or frequent habit of yours that contributes to you being in your zone and being fully focused so that you can execute on this vision?
My full focus always, if I get up in the morning, is what is being done and what needs to be delivered. If I see these two pictures in front of my eyes very clearly, my day is less restless than and even night is less restless. Otherwise, um, the way I see the company moves forward with is more of a sending out the demos and sending out the parts, like build the product in the phases instead of just trying to solve the easiest problem first and then get to the complex one.
Certainly. And same question for yourself, Rachel.
It's really the same. It's obsessive to-do lists. You know, the very first thing that Sachin and I did when we decided to tackle this problem was sit down and create a product roadmap. Like, what do we want this product to look like? And what's every step that we have to take to get it there, one item at a time? And we've been crossing off those items since then.
Yeah, and how big is how big is the engineering team at this time?
We have, I guess, around now with new hires, 24 people. And I think that's
Phenomenal.
going to be enough.
Yeah, absolutely. When it comes to websites, apps, business tools that you're using more often than not, what do you find yourself most using, Rachel?
Oh, for me? Well,
Yeah.
Excel, but I'm not the tech person. And WhatsApp, honestly, WhatsApp is incredible.
Yes.
Yeah. How about you, Sachin?
We do definitely use Slack a lot. But
Okay.
so we built, so again, Zenyapp is a marketplace, which is one part of the product. Then Zenyapp is a white label solution technology that is second part of the product. And Zenyapp is a fintech engine that is a third part of the product.
Mhm.
So when it comes to what we as a company using, we are having a dev team working on a modern full stack, so we use a lot of complex technology. Our payment settlement is based on third generation blockchain protocol, which is Hedera Hashgraph. So a lot of deep tech, a lot of AI machine learning tools, algorithm building. um, but day-to-day activity, we use Slack, WhatsApp, as Rachel said, Excel sheets, um, Zoom calls, of course,
A
pretty
lot
much
of Zoom.
all the time.
Yes.
Yeah, 24/7 Zoom calls, most likely. So yes.
That's great. And here's a little bit of a curveball question.
Yes.
All your insight in hedge funds, Rachel, and private capital markets, public capital markets, everything you've learned working with Sachin and running your own private wealth management funds, you could turn back the clock 25 years and just repivot or do something with more intensity. What would you do?
Oh my goodness. Well, some people in my business school class joined Facebook. Might have done that. That was pretty smart. I think it's hard to rewrite your career going backwards because then you wouldn't know all the things you know today. I mean, all of it's been unbelievably valuable in getting me to this point. So I don't know if I could say I'd go back and do it all differently, but I will tell you that I'm enjoying the role of being an operator tremendously. It's the most fun I've had, and this is what I plan to keep doing.
Fantastic. Same question for you, Sachin.
I think I have the very similar answer to Rachel, and I really don't want to add on to it because it's such a perfect answer for your question. My point is, if I would have known this 25 years ago, this is what I want to do, I think I might have not done this. I might have done something else. The point is, I think it's a journey, and everyone should have that journey wherever it takes. Maybe I'm in travel, or maybe I'm in hospitality, or maybe in a healthcare science, any business I'm in. Is the journey you take on, and you just don't stop innovating. You don't stop until you feel like you are doing the right thing.
Mhm,
It's your personal satisfaction, I think. That's what drives you
mhm.
on one.
Certainly. Certainly. Yeah, I have a tally of how many people say just buy Bitcoin, but
You know,
definitely.
that was my answer B. Like, absolutely, I would go back and buy Bitcoin. There's no question about that.
One thing is there, we were always part of that story. Why we
Yes,
already were,
we do own Bitcoin. Yeah.
yeah, we had Bitcoins, and we
Yeah.
are very bullish on the blockchain industry
Yeah.
way before the entire market was. I was
Yeah.
yelling at people, so I don't have that regret. I'm on. So,
That's true.
Phenomenal, phenomenal. Buy more Bitcoin.
but I
Absolutely.
would say that doesn't stop at all. Like, you always want to be richest person on earth, but that's, we at least got, we like the people, we're fortunate enough to be part of seeing that growth, um, and graceful enough to receive some good benefit out of that growth. And
Yeah.
Zenyapp will give that kind of opportunity for a lot of people very, very soon.
Yeah.
And Bitcoin,
Well, I want to, yeah, please continue.
no, I was saying the kind of opportunity Bitcoin has given to the early investors. We're pretty much working on a same technology on our payment settlement process. The world is going to be very different as soon as we have this fully set out for sailing.
Most certainly. Well, I want to thank you both for your time. I think it would be great if, Sachin, you could share a final parting thought, and yourself as well, Rachel, and a good way for people to keep in touch with what you're up to.
Rachel, you go ahead.
Me? Oh, okay. Well, I mean, I guess separate from Zenyapp and what we're building, which we're obviously incredibly excited about, but the biggest lesson that I've had over my career, having co-founded a couple different companies, is that the team that you're working with is the only thing that ultimately matters. It's the reason a business succeeds or fails. And how much you trust them and how much you enjoy working with them is the reason a business succeeds or fails. And so I feel very lucky to be working with Sachin, and on this particular idea, because I have such confidence.
So true. Thank you. So, I would say the parting words would be, I mean, I believe a lot of people try to use shortcuts to get to, if anybody is in the startup industry and they're thinking they are there to make a lot of money, they're stupid. Getting to money in startup is the slowest possible way. So I think people need to find, or anyone who is looking at making a real difference, um, I think they need to find a long-term vision. They need to find a reason to be with that vision. I believe time is valuable asset only if you contribute to make it valuable.
Welcome to the Business Podcast, where we interview professionals across all industries.